No, do not call me anymore. It's none of my business. How am I supposed to record a lecture for the students now? Feeling completely broken. I'm gonna go nuts if I don't take my pills. Fuck. Where are my meds? Alright. Now we can go to the camera. This place is starting to look like a garbage dump, rather than a store. Well, I hope I won't forget to press the record button this time. Let's move on straight to our deceased. I'm wondering how the new tripod is going to work. Just frame it properly and... oh, this should be fine. November 21st, 1991. Time... well, who'd mention the rookie found on the outskirts of a parking lot. The deceased is locally... the body was found at mention the rookie mistake. Now we can get to work. Oh, where are the damn gloves? Oh, must have left it in one of the drawers. Let's follow the procedure and prepare photo documentation. We must follow the top-down rule. Look, voila! Now we move on to the next step. Trace search. We're going... and that's perfect. People affected by homelessness most often die from unfortunate... well, you don't have to... there's not... While taking the photos, some entries that could be potentially lethal caught my attention. Let's take a closer look using the magnifying glass. That's something interesting. While making photographic documentation, ecchymosis can be seen on the deceased man's head. The appearance indicates the intravital nature of the wound. We'll come back later to see if everything is alright with the brain. An old wound that hadn't healed properly. It must have been some kind of burn or other injury. Nevertheless, it has nothing to do with the potential cause of death. By the look of his feet, I assume Toby must have worn uncomfortable and dinky shoes for quite a while. However, such wounds have nothing to do with his death. There are frostbite marks all over the deceased's body. Although they are most visible on the tips of his fingers, they can be recognized by the very specific color of the skin. However, the hands tell us much more. What do we have here? An old wound that hadn't healed properly. It must have been some kind of burn or other injury. Nevertheless, it has nothing to do with the potential. By the look of his feet, it could be freezing to death. The condition of the head tells us it could have been a fate. Yeah, the odor can be the result of... At this point, that's all I can do based on all traces on the body of the deceased. Now let's check the level of muscle tension. This will allow us to establish time of death. Let's raise the deceased's hand. And then let go. The stronger the rig... as you can... let's grab a scalpel. You can boldly cut with the scalpel. It won't hurt him no more. We always start with the neck and move down towards this. Next, we separate the skin and prepare to remove the ribs. The adipose tissue has an intense yellow hue. As you probably already guessed, we're going to need the scissors. After removing both cartilage and bone tissues, we are actually interested in the lack of organ. The pulmonary trunk and aorta seem to be in good condition. There are no pathological changes that have contributed to our Toby's death. Well, once we've got the body ticked off, we can move on to the head. We can eliminate freezing as the cause of death. At first glance, the heart looks fine. The deceased smoked like a chimney. Let's take a closer look. We see widespread black and tarry deposits caused by smoking cigarettes. Despite the... Now we need to go grab the syringe. Let's take the autopsy saw to cut through the skull. At this point, we move on to collecting blood from the heart. 5 milliliters from the left ventricle should do it. Now, we prick the bladder and draw about 10 milliliters of fluid. We also collect the fluid from the deceased to determine the level of alcohol concentration in the Keep in mind that you have to set the right time and speed on both knobs before running the centrifuge. Our sample I might... Damn it. If something goes to shit, it's on the way. And I was hoping to clock out early today. What was that? Where did it go? Yeah, it's definitely... Right goes first, left next. Voila! Where's that unbearable noise coming from? Alright, let's see, where were we? Oh yeah. Well, everything is telling us that the BAC, blood alcohol concentration, is high. And now let's take a closer look at the stomach. As expected, the stomach has no major external damage. In this case, further inspection is no use. We must cut him open. That's interesting. Oh, it couldn't have been suffocated. Now we take the... Anyway, we will start dissecting the brain from the occipital lobe. In this way, the brain's dura mater is slowly revealing itself. After the basic examination, we can see that the cerebral gyri in both brain hemispheres. So far, so good. The hematoma seems... Holding a knife with a long, narrow blade in your dominant hand, cut the cranial nerves on both sides, pulling the brain towards you. Remember, just one small... We then... Just as I initially suspected, we can rule the fatal accident out as well. Same as we did with the stomach. External inspection didn't tell us anything. While cutting a small organ, such as the trachea, we must perform a precise incision. To be able to cut with the very tip of the blade, we must hold the knife as if it was a stylus. Ladies and gentlemen, based on the report and preliminary documentation, then the gas... That's what... And now it's all clear. The death was caused by suffocation. It went quite smoothly today. I'm about to get off. In order to bring the chest of our deceased back to its initial state, at least to a small extent, this stitching method is very strong and quick to do. I should probably get to that. I'm coming. That's strange. I'm pretty sure I closed the window. The homeless probably misses me already.
What the fuck?